Ciao Juventini and good morning. Great morning actually. The air seems better today. Everything seems better. Why? Well, we're on to a final shot at another trophy for Pirlo's Juventus, and more importantly, we prevent Merda from the opportunity to get their hands on one and hopefully continue that streak that they're on for a while. I got Antonio and Luis joining me. Good morning, fellas. Great morning. How's everybody doing?
I feel excellent.
It's,
absolutely excellent. No complaints.
Absolutely, it's always nice. I got to let everybody know. People are going to be tuning in. It's like minus 30 weather out here, and there's a crazy storm outside. I don't know what's going to happen. My internet's been acting up. Hopefully, we can keep this rolling through because we got a lot of good stuff to chat about. If for some reason we're unable to continue, I'll pick it up and we'll do it at a later time here. But I found something quite amusing this morning. I want to share it, and this kind of set the tone, set the mood here for what this show is going to be about here. So little there. Look at him dance. This is one of the best videos I've ever seen. That's so great. So great.
Did you guys
had to tweet that?
You see what the Juventus admin tweeted this morning?
The what?
I haven't. No.
No. So our account tweeted a picture here. I'll show you. It might be the best thing that they've tweeted in a long time. But it's this Toby Maguire meme.
Oh, I seen that. Yeah, seen that.
When we put the glasses on.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We got yeah. So Alex, AJ, and Raf, and then
I'll froze up a little bit. What's up, everyone?
Say shot.
Yeah, coming and going, Alberto.
So much. It was the reaction. Okay, it was the negative reaction that many Juventini were feeling towards this lineup. We had Buffon in goal, Danilo, Demiral, De Ligt, Sandro, and up ahead of Sandro and Danilo, we had Quadrado and Bernardeschi, which became the midfield of Bentancur and Rabiot with Kulusevski and CR7 up top. I saw this lineup, and it was clear what the game plan was going to be, and that was shut down the flanks for Merda. That was going to be the main goal, shut down the flanks, and Kulusevski was going to probably sit in top as that hybrid third midfielder that could also spring attack, playing just ahead of them and whatnot, and also try to limit Brozovic as much as possible as they attempted to in the first setup there in the first leg. I was fine with the lineup. You know, they had to score 2, ideally to get anything out of it other than, they had to get 2. I felt fine. I thought, hey, you know, we could do fine as long as we could control some balance and play. Okay, and I was like, as long as we can achieve that, I'm fine. If they want to go with this, it was going to be fine. But what did you guys think of the lineup? Because there was a lot of negativity on there, and honestly, I felt fine with it. But let's kick it off with Antonio. How did you feel about the lineup when it first came out?
I think my initial thoughts were they were okay. To be honest with you, I think we had obviously we have to get 2 goals. 2-goal cushion. It's almost played as a European tie. Obviously, 2 away goals. I think besides the lineup, the approach had to be spot on yesterday, and I think it was from the get-go. The first 25 minutes, I thought we controlled the game perfectly. I don't think Inter offered anything at all. The first half, probably most of the match, to be honest with you. But my initial thoughts were okay. My only issue, if there was any, was Bernardeschi playing. I've not got a witch hunt against the guy. Last night again, I mean, it was incredibly frustrating. I just don't see anything positive coming from him. But I understand why he was playing last night, so he could double up on Hakimi on the left-hand side. But I think overall I was fine with the initial lineup.
Yeah, Lewis, your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, same here. I wasn't surprised by it. It kind of caught me off guard that everyone was so shocked by the lineup. I mean, it's basically the same one we used last week, and it worked really well, except for maybe one or two changes. But I think, Pirlo was looking, obviously, for something he mentioned in his pre-match press conference, that, mental fatigue is out there, and being able to rotate to your second 11 and have them work like as a unit like that last night was really good. And tactically, how he set up, back-to-back legs, he set up the same way and stopped Conte both times. So, hats off to the manager on that.
Yeah, and I like the fact that we had some impact at the bench if we needed it. Getting those guys on some tired legs would have been money if we needed it. Morata there, Chiesa there, McKennie in there. I was fine with it. So we get to the match itself, and man, it was a little cagey at the start. It seemed like Juve was controlling possession pretty good. Merda was coming at us in the 10th minute. There's a PK shout. Lautaro, come on, buddy. Come on. And you see Conte on the side and these ad officials and whatnot. I'm like, you guys, that was so bad. You look at De Ligt and you watch De Ligt and he's just like, get the fuck up. Yeah. That's pretty sad. And I love them trying to zoom right in as close as possible. Like, oh no, there's contact on the foot. I couldn't believe this on the feed I was watching. There's contact on the foot with Bernardeschi's foot there. To me, that's a PK, is what one announcer actually said. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me if we're going to call that a PK. I almost felt like VAR should have intervened to give Lautaro a card at bare minimum for being a bitch. But anyways, it's sad. But you guys, your thoughts on that right out of the gate, 10 minutes in?
Go ahead, Antonio.
Sorry, I was just saying, yesterday I managed to find the feed on the Rai over in Italy, so I watched the game in Italian, and the commentators during the game, and obviously the presenters of the show, they're so anti-Juventus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really interesting and funny to watch, so I made it a point last night to watch it on the Rai coverage. Sorry, before we go any further, Lewis, I'll let you take this one. You're kind enough to let me speak there. There should have been a red card for me on Darmian. Do you remember that one, the first half?
Yeah.
Why? I mentioned on the live chat yesterday, Alberto, the referee to show consistency. I thought the referee didn't show any consistency at all, especially against Juventus. Yet again, because it's happened so many times. That, to me, is a stone wall red card. I mean, he should have been off the park. He went in with 2 feet. For me, that's a red card every day.
Yeah. He was weird. I mean, what for the last ref being really yellow card, yellow card. Just let it all go.
Absolutely.
Lautaro, I don't know if your guys' stream showed this, but my stream kept cutting away to Bonucci's face on the sideline.
Yeah, he was waiting.
He looked like all of us. And when Lautaro took that dive, he's up yelling at the bench, and I was just like, that was such a perfect.
Yeah, it was winding Conte up all game, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah. We got Georg coming in with Lautaro taking lessons from Vidal on kicking the grass, and then Colin coming in here with a cartellino bicho. pretty much. But we move on. And the 23rd minute, Merda getting another opportunity with a hard cross in. It actually deflects off Lukaku's body and goes wide. So there's a bit of a warning shot there. Shot ends up getting blocked as Merda continues to put a little bit of pressure on us. It falls to Lautaro, who literally has an open net. And that one made me gasp for a second, but he gets it all wrong. And thank God. Doesn't connect worth a shit, and it goes wide across. So we're okay. We survive. And then late in the half, I thought for sure we're gonna bag one here, because all of a sudden we get a couple of run opportunities by CR7, and he looked on, man. He was dangerous in the limited like moments, and I was like, oh, here we go.
He's playing one.
He doesn't get
yeah.
Yeah, he gets a couple back-to-back opportunities. One was a big block. Another one, he forces a save by Handanovic, and I said unlucky. And people are like, well, he's got to do better. But he's actually unlucky. And if you watch the breakdown of that play, Handanovic doesn't fucking move until it hits his foot. If that ball is like 3 inches centrally, that's right through his legs, because Handanovic doesn't even – Handanovic – he sucks. If in my personal opinion, the guy's always caught not moving or flat-footed. We can go down a plethora of goals he's allowed where he has just stood there and watched. This one hits his foot and then he reacts. It's very, very unlucky, because Ronaldo blasted that thing.
Also, on the one that De Vrij blocked, did you see Ronaldo send Skriniar for a hot dog?
All game he made Skriniar look awful. And then Alex Handanovic is a muppet, in my opinion, as well. That's awesome.
I thought he was their best player, to be honest with you, and that just goes a lot to show.
Handanovic?
I thought he made some great saves. I thought.
I mean, if you had to give a rating, he made some big saves. But I'm saying
just on the saves, just on the saves, especially in the second half, which obviously we'll touch on in a moment.
We get those opportunities. We get those opportunities at the end of the half. Nothing. In the 43rd minute, CR7 gets another opportunity. Great step up by Danilo, in my opinion, up there. We'll talk about that later. Falls to CR7. Huge block on this one by Bastoni. Bastoni makes a big save on CR7 to stop that one. We go into halftime. So halftime hits, and I'm thinking, man, for the most part there, I didn't like the fact that we gave up so much play, but I wasn't terribly nervous or concerned. In the second half, I was thinking, well, hopefully we can get a little bit more play, but I was prepared for full-on lockdown, full-on catenaccio. Okay. But I was pleasantly surprised with what we got in the second half. But how were you guys feeling at halftime? Let's go with Lewis here.
Like I needed a beer. It was a lot in the first half. It was very, very nervy. But I mean, I thought that there was exactly how I thought we would play in the first half. We broke on the counter a lot. We held them up pretty good. And if you go in the second leg where you're up a goal and you don't concede, you're feeling pretty good, knowing that Murder need 2 when they haven't done much at the J Stadium in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Your thoughts at halftime, Antonio?
Like I said at the start, obviously it's a classic European tie where you're 2 goals up in the first leg, 2 away goals, and Merda had to score 2 goals without reply to get anywhere in the game. It was never going to happen. As I say, De Ligt and Demiral were outstanding last night. Absolutely fantastic. I was very impressed by Demiral. He certainly proved me wrong. I think it's down to concentration with him. I think if he's got a strong opponent, much like Chiellini, if he's got a strong opponent in front of him, he finds that bit extra. But overall, I think you and I were messaging one another at halftime. Alberto, I was more than happy. As I say, I knew the game was going to be tight in terms of we weren't going to look for that goal to kill it off. But I was happy.
One shout. Go ahead,
Lewis.
One shout at halftime was just tactically how they had De Ligt follow Lukaku everywhere. Every time Lukaku got the ball in the hold-up play, De Ligt was right on him. Didn't matter where he was in that half. De Ligt was right there. It was much different from when we played them with San Siro.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I talked about that too in the Serie A match against them. We were missing key guys. We got a lot wrong tactically, but there's no doubt some of those guys would help too, for sure. Jordan coming in here with Antonio just saying about Handanovic. Would he have made those saves if CR7 didn't smash them at him? Ronaldo needs to learn to finesse rather than just boot it. Yeah, sometimes it calls for a different finish. There was an opportunity too where he didn't have to shoot. This comes up in the second half where he kind of made a mess of a good counter. There was an opportunity to maybe slip the ball to a teammate, but again, we're nitpicking here. Ronaldo, for the most part, was on. He was rather unlucky in my opinion. AJ at half, I felt that Inter were never even close to scoring. And then Jordan coming in here. Again, do you think our game plan was to sit back and relax rather than push for goals? I felt, we were going to try to force them to chase the match, shut them down at their key points, which was through Hakimi, try and shut down Barella as best possible, which I actually think they did a very, very good job as compared to the first two times we faced them. I thought we gave Barella very little options, I thought we executed a good game plan. We still were dangerous in the second half, far more dangerous. We'll get to all this in the second half, but what I found interesting at the start, we talked about this in the pre-match live, Lewis and I, which was, would we have different elements to our attack? Because if we were going to try to go through the ground, it would be very hard based on how Merda is set up. But if you notice right out of the gate, it was very, very interesting. Pirlo basically allowed the back two, Demiral and De Ligt, to space themselves out. The outside, Sandro and Danilo, came inside. They came inside to the middle, and one of those midfielders pushed up. And then the guys that were on the wings, Bernardeschi and Quadrado, remained on the line, and it gave us an option. And at the very start of the match, we were carving through there and finding our ways into their zone quite nicely. The problem became, on two occasions, we got caught and Hakimi absolutely roasted Sandro for pace, which isn't hard to do because I'm pretty sure a snail could roast him for pace these days. And after that, we kind of went away from that, but it was an interesting dynamic and setup. And I thought, man, this is good, and this could give us that edge. And it had the midfield of Merda chasing the ball around. Yeah. It was very, very nice to see. We just couldn't bank on it because as soon as one of those guys, if they lose it, man, Hakimi he's blazing fast, man. He's blazing fast, and he chewed up Sandro on a couple. Sandro recovered quite well, but it was a risk. It was risky business, and again, they're the ones chasing the game. But I thought it was interesting and a unique little setup that Pirlo had in mind. So it was cool to see. Going back to the lineup in the first half and how people felt too, I find it interesting that there was a lot of negativity and stuff like that, because one of the things that a lot of us Juventini have been shouting for Pirlo is to not have something that's just set in stone. Like we were getting with Sarri. It's like, this is our layup. This is our setup. We're done. I like the fact that Pirlo is adapting, and we will have different options. We will have different looks. This is also good for a lot of those Juventini that may have doubts about what this team could potentially accomplish in Champions League, because having that ability to adapt is huge, and it keeps those opponents that don't play us regularly really guessing, and they don't know what to expect. What Juve is going to show up? What players are going to be on the pitch with Pirlo? How do you prepare for a team that gives you different looks? So I was pretty excited about that aspect of it. Do you guys agree? What are you guys' thoughts in terms of that and Pirlo kind of adapting? Antonio kicks off.
I think I'm going to make an example here, and I don't want to obviously make comparisons because obviously one's been in the managerial side for a long time and Pirlo's just come into it. But I see a lot of a Guardiola style of football from Pirlo, especially last night, where, as you touched on it, Alberto, Sandro sometimes would actually be playing as that deep line midfielder, and obviously when we're in the possession. So much so that at one point Barella and Brozovic were screaming at one another because they didn't know who to mark. That to me is that's important, because obviously I've always said football in the modern era is evolving. You need to be brave, fresh ideas, and Pirlo's certainly bringing that. I'm ecstatic with the way he's managing. Post Roma podcast and pre Merda podcast, obviously I was listening in on the live chat. I was frustrated to hear from a lot of Juventini comparing the last game against Roma and possibly the second half against Merda in the first leg to Allegri's style of you.
We're definitely going to get to that. We're going to get to that. That's one of the nice ones after we wrap up this second half. We're going to definitely touch on that. And I agree with you, Antonio. That
was never going to happen. We need to obviously look away from that and give Pirlo credit to say that he's tactically adapting now. He's shown maturity. He showed maturity in the second game against Roma because he understood in the first game in the Olimpico, they tore us apart on the counter-attack. So he gave up possession and won the game. So in some games, as Eric touched on it yesterday in the live chat as well, some games you need to just say, well, do you know what? We can't do that style of football. So
Yeah. And I thought, piggybacking off of what Antonio said, and talk about Pep Guardiola's style. Did you notice where Bentancur was? Right in the middle of the back two. It was great because Demiral and De Ligt, aren't. It's not like Bonucci. They're not distributors of the ball very well. I just thought it was really interesting. Like the first 10 minutes trying to figure out where everyone was and seeing Danilo and Sandro come in and really just disrupt that Merda midfield. It was almost like he saw the team sheet, saw someone like Eriksen was like, okay, we need to put 2 more people in there because they have a more attacking midfield this time around. So I was really impressed with it. I was impressed with how fluid it looked, except for when Hakimi broke. But, again, Pirlo, that lineup specifically, the reason why I was so for it is Pirlo was brought in to transition this team. So Demiral, Kulusevski, Buffon, these guys that play typically in the Coppa Italia, whereas a normal manager would move to maybe your best 11. He was like, no, I'm sticking with these guys. Like, this is their competition. And I respect that, Yeah.
I thought it was very, very interesting from Pirlo, and I loved it. I thought it was cool to see him evolving as a manager as well, as getting that team kind of go there. I liked it. So we get through halftime here. Like I said, Lewis kind of said he was feeling a little nervy, wanted a beer. I felt more comfortable personally, but I would have liked a little more offense, maybe to push a bit more, but not to the point where we exposed ourselves. Still respecting their danger man, Hakimi. Lukaku was isolated very well by De Ligt. We talked about the guys at the back doing a great job, and offering some confusion in the middle of the park with the outside guys. So they were doing a good job. We get to second half. 52nd minute, Hakimi actually gets a good opportunity. That one actually looked dangerous. Didn't miss by much. I think there was a deflection off Rabiot, if I remember correctly, but close one. 6 minutes later, CR7, this is one where you could potentially say he should have done better. He got it out wide after Rabiot distributed to him on a counterattack. Bernardeschi started making a great trailing run. Possibly could have slotted in front of him, at least hit the target. Again, CR7 for the most part was dangerous every time he had the ball. So what are you going to do nitpicking here? 63rd minute. This is the one, in my opinion, though, CR7 has to finish. We win the ball in around 25 yards out. The ball gets to McKennie. Was it McKennie? No, sorry.
Rabiot, I think it was.
Yeah, I believe so. Slots it over to CR7. CR7 has to score this one, in my opinion. Has to. Again, it looked like he just did a quick outside the boot, hard tap, and Handanovic, again, coming out decent enough, and it hits him. So unfortunate there. That would have sealed it for sure. But again, promising at the second half. We're starting to get better opportunities and seem to be a little bit more frequently. And again, I just wasn't feeling any threat out of Merda. They get an opportunity shortly after that. I believe Sensi entering the match fires one, and you see Sandro lay out, literally dive out,
I thought that
parallel
was
with the ground to block this shot. And I'm like, wow, man, that's just impressive to see, because they were all doing that. Danilo, De Ligt, Demiral, Sandro. It was immense, man, to watch the actual amount of effort. Gigi, for a match that we played for the most part defensively, had little work to do, and that's because of everybody in front of them. They literally built a wall, and we're almost saying there's nothing that's even going to make it to you, Gigi. You know?
Demiral got his body on almost every shot Murder took last night.
Yeah.
It was really impressive.
It was insane. And I'm not wearing this just to mess with everybody's eyesight this morning, you know? It's got the himself on the back. So I had to give the guy a shout because we have been a little bit hard on him as of late, but fantastic outing. 75th minute, Kulishevsky with a good run in there. Kulishevsky laid off on a couple opportunities. On this one, I felt if he pushed harder, he could have maybe gotten to it seems like he almost lays off a bit. There was a nice ball played through to him at one point in this match. He started making the good run. And you see CR7 look at him after, and he's symbolizing. He's like, you know, like always go, don't let up. You know, if the ball gets her, it gets her. But he's like, don't let up. So that was unfortunate, but again, really promising half from Juve. It was fantastic. 76th minute, we talk about a huge block. Demiral, massive block, and the instant reaction, the celebration from him. These guys get me fired up when the defense is like that. It reminds me of old school Juventus, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's old school shit when you get as pumped for it. It didn't matter that we didn't see any goals, because I was so pumped up off that defense and all the guys getting fired up, right? It was awesome. 80th minute, again, just a weird no call for what I thought was a clear foul, and they continue on. Hakimi actually gets a chance from it as well, and that pissed me off because you just never know what you're going to get out of the officiating. It's so weird.
Inconsistency.
It's so strange from minute to minute, you know? But anyways, after this, Chiellini enters for Quadrado, and this brought so much joy to me. It's the 80th minute of a match where you cannot break your opponent down, and then Giorgio Chiellini enters the fucking pitch. How demoralizing is that if you're a Merda player, especially like say Lukaku or something? It's like, holy Christ, I haven't had room to breathe, and now this guy comes out.
Did you know what they did? They brought Chiellini on, and he went right to doing what De Ligt did for 80 minutes on the pocket, just like right on his butt every time he touched it.
It's amazing, man.
See last night where obviously that point of the game where we had on the same pitch at the same time, Demiral, De Ligt and Chiellini, and I'll put in Sandro because he was outstanding. There's not a better defence in Europe, in my opinion, than that one last night. I think we need to sometimes focus on that as well. We have got a phenomenal defence when those guys are all fit. So why not sometimes play that kind of style of game? Because you won't score against that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if we get if the guys are rolling and in rhythm like they are now, and again, I've been talking about it for a while. If you want to split those two up, Chiellini and De Ligt, and make that partnership and have that tandem, I'm fine with it, man. Split them up and keep it level on both sides. It's a beautiful thing. That's a luxury. Again, like Antonio says, not many teams have, or any to that level, right? So that's huge. That's huge. We continue on. 84th minute, Danilo with a huge block. Big block from him on an opportunity by Sensi. 86th minute, we see Chiesa enter the match for Kulishevsky. And honestly, we see it out very, very comfortably. 0-0. We get the victory, and we move on, man. Solid at the back. At the second half, like we said, we talked about how maybe nervy it was feeling in the first half. Second half, I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
I was sitting back. We ended up the match with the more dangerous opportunities at the end of it. And we were more likely to score, and they were the ones playing on the front foot.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I'm so happy with that. So again, going back to even Pirlo, Supercoppa victory, in the race and climbing in Serie A and Coppa Italia final, and ready to face Porto after finishing top in Champions League group.
Yeah.
If you would have said this at the start, I would have said no way with a first-time manager who's coached nowhere.
I agree.
And here we are. So a lot of credit has to go his way. And all those shouts early on, Pirlo out and all this, everybody's got to just pump the brakes and understand it takes time and whatnot. But I'm very, very excited and happy with what I've been seeing out of this club. I love the fact it's almost like I can't even put into words how interesting it is to watch this team this year, because it's evolving, but it's always changing. But I'm always on my toes as a fan, not knowing what to expect, watching them come out and how are they going to play this one. It's actually like so much fun to watch. If you take the results and where we might sit in the table, and we dropped some points, you want to sit higher, but ultimately it's been a pleasure to watch this side this year. And that's how I actually feel. So how do you guys feel so far? Here we are at halftime, and now we're going on to a Coppa Italia final. What are you guys thinking?
I'm the same way. Pirlo, we talked about when he was hired and stuff, the big thing that he wanted was to restore enthusiasm. And when you watch this team, I mean, they not only do they believe, but they believe as a collective unit. I mean, we talked about this, I think the last time the three of us were together. If you took a team like Liverpool or Bayern Munich, like they're a collective unit who all believe in the project. And I think that's the big thing with Juventus is you watch the players. Even someone like Bonucci, who sometimes looks out of it, is on the bench yelling, screaming, all the players. They're running on the field and celebrating. They're celebrating blocks. It's exciting. And it's the first time in a long time that, like, when Romeo tweets his lineup out like an hour before the match, I actually am excited for it. You know, it's like, what are we gonna see today? Like it's a thrill,
Yeah, it is, man. It really, really is. It's just it's back to that feeling. And again, like we talked about earlier with Pirlo and just the setups and now changing and giving you different looks and whatnot. We have become accustomed to, like, this is our setup. This is our layup. This is where these guys are going to play. And then it's like, oh man, and there's always grinds. There's grinds. Now we get into like comparisons and whatnot between managers, which Antonio brought in, and we will get to that. We will definitely get to that. And there's a lot of good shit that came out of this one. Big time. We're going to kick it off though, real quick. Player reviews and man of the match. So like for me, real quick, I had it between Demiral and De Ligt, and honestly, everybody worked their fucking ass off. As a team, they should all get man of the match because they all played their part and did the role. It was ugly at times. Yeah, did we cough the ball up and make errors here? Yes. But for the most part, everybody worked their ass off in this one. But for me, it was between Demiral and Danilo, and I actually edged Danilo personally in this one. I thought his work on the right side with Quadrado was actually fantastic. Even Quadrado did great while he was in there. But for me, Danilo, to be honest, and just narrowly edging out Demiral. Lewis, your man of the match.
Mine is Demiral, but Danilo was close. I mean, if I had to stack it like 1, 2, 3, it'd be Demiral, Danilo, and then De Ligt. Because just as a collective, that back line was so good yesterday. I go with Demiral.
Yeah, Antonio.
I would love to give it to Pinzolio, to be honest with you. The guy's just every single Juventus fan. Isn't he really? He just embodies all the passion, and it never gives you any problems. I hope he plays in the final for the Coppa Italia. But all joking aside, I had it down to 3. It was between Rabiot, who was, for me, was outstanding as well. But so it was between Rabiot, Demiral, and De Ligt, and I gave it to Demiral just because he was. He improved a hell of a lot in that game last night. He was switched on from the start. He always worries me, Demiral, sometimes, but yesterday was outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great shout. And even Georg coming in here with the obvious defense individuals, but Rabiot and Berna had very good games. They contributed well in the defensive phase. Demiral for him is man of the match. Good shout, Antonio, too, on Rabiot. That was part of the negativity in the lineup going into it from most Juventini being frustrated, saying that with Bentancur and Rabiot, we're not going to do anything offensively in terms of midfield. But honestly, again, it goes to show you how much the whole collective plays a part in even an individual's performance. It all has to gel. It all has to click. It all has to work. But Rabiot, as of late now, and this is what we've seen out of Rabiot, really. Yeah. Up, down, down. But when he's up, it's fantastic. And yesterday, he was fantastic. And Bentancur had a great match, too. I said, everybody worked their asses off and contributed all over the pitch. CR7, man, to be the lone guy up top, the way he was working, because Kulishevsky kind of had distance between them based on his other duty of kind of trying to eliminate Brozovic. So CR was essentially lone man, and he did fantastic. Bernardeschi, while we get frustrated with, execution or just in general decision making, whatnot, he worked his ass off. Worked his ass off on that flank.
Sorry,
all the guys. Go ahead.
Can I just add one thing as well? I thought the introduction of McKennie last night was perfectly timed just to take the sting out of the game. And I thought McKennie, when he was on the ball. He was fantastic. Yeah. He chased Perisic down 70 yards and won the ball back. I mean, the guy, he's a live wire. I mean, he was fantastic when he came on last night. He really was.
McKennie's like, there's no doubt with it, kid. He's the spark plug, man. Like, he's unreal. The effort will always be there out of him and whatnot. And I love just the enthusiasm, the fight, and he'll go like every second. He's going to give you 150%. I love it. I love it. AJ coming in with Danilo is the biggest surprise of the season. 100%. He's a surprise. And then, of course, the shock with McKennie and how big an impact he's made too. So, man, there we go for player reviews, man of the match. Everybody was fantastic. We go that. I do like this comment, which is a perfect segue into the next phase. Colin coming in here saying, on review, I have to give man of the match to Agnelli. I love that. Without further ado, and to address the elephant in the virtual room, so to speak, obviously scenarios here. I guess at halftime, as things start to unfold at halftime, it's still undetermined whether, I guess, Agnelli had done, or Conte had done it to the bench. I heard it was the bench. Then I heard it was the board that he essentially gave the middle finger to. So he fingers them. And at the end of the match, of course, Agnelli celebrates with Paratici, Nedved, the board, as he walks down. Stick that finger in your ass, asshole. To Conte, and it is what it is, man. To think that there wasn't bad blood in the way everything ended would have been false. Everybody's known for a while, and that's why there was a big shock when everybody was expecting through the Sarri changeout that possibly Conte, or even when it wasn't going to be Sarri, as coach, thinking Conte was going to come back, and I was highly doubting because of the way things kind of left off. And I was just like, this would be bizarre. Like, I know there's issues there. Like, the way it all went down, the comments that were made, and Conte is Conte. The thing is funny. Conte hasn't changed. He's the same fucking guy he was back then. He hasn't changed. The reason he's become unbearable is because he's with those fucking guys.
Yeah.
He literally is that guy. He's always made excuses. It's never his fault. He's always been that guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's just when they're one of your own, you have different feelings and different thoughts about it towards them. You know, you can deal with it when they're your own. It's no different than taking a player like Cristiano Ronaldo. I guarantee you a shit ton of Juventini hated Cristiano Ronaldo when he was a member of Real Madrid. And there you go, Antonio.
There's a funny story why, but I'll let you continue.
And then, lo and behold, he joins Juventus. Things change. Same guy, same attitude. A lot of things you see the same, but that's the reason why Conte's so fucking unbearable, man. And is the fact that he's with these fucking shitheads. But in my opinion, he's found a great fucking home because excuses is what they've been doing for a long fucking time. And it's how you fucking eventually try to win is in the fucking courtrooms. And Conte's no stranger to courtrooms either. So perfect match.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course, the big hot topic, Conte's star. Does it get removed? And this is the big one where Antonio and I finally disagree on something. And I love it. So I'm going to let Antonio kick this one off with Conte's star and removing it.
Let me just start with saying I was born in the UK, but my mum and dad came over here a long time ago, and they're from my mum and dad are both from a place called Lecce. So Conte is actually a fellow paisano, and I'll be the first to admit I loved Conte until he went to those dickheads. But you and I had this kind of debate last night, Alberto, with the star being removed. I think if you read a lot of Juventus kind of web, obviously where a lot of the guys post their comments, most Juve fans would agree, in my opinion, that his star should be removed because he doesn't deserve a place amongst all the legends, in my opinion, because it is only my opinion. I just think the way he comes across, and you're spot on, he's never changed, he's always been the same. It's just obviously he's become unbearable because he obviously represents them. But his post-match comments yesterday, he basically, when he was asked the question what happened, he said basically that Juventus should use Dugazione, which is obviously good manners. The guy was in the fourth official's back pocket the full game, trying to get calls for his team. So if there's anyone that should show good manners and represent a club of that stature, it should be him. Now, to annoy Agnelli to get to the stage where he's running down the stairs, potentially going to fly over for him, he must have rubbed him up the wrong way. There must be more to that, because to me, our president's one of the most placid individuals, and obviously on the football stage. But I just think the guy's he's a classy clown, and I don't want to be associated with him.
I don't disagree with that. I find this hilarious. Rap coming in, I'll piss on Conte's star myself. And then AJ says, we should remove the star only if Merda win the Scudetto. But Lewis, let's get your thoughts on this before I weigh in with my feelings.
So my feeling is this. I think that Conte, for Conte and Agnelli, the beef, it's really been there since he left, when he said, you know, you can't go 100 million euro restaurant with 10 euros, you know, all that. You know, Conte a little unsettled because after he got sacked at Chelsea, he started showing up to all the Juventus games. He was trying to get that job. He knew Allegri was on his way out. And Agnelli was like, no. So I think that beef, it's been there for a while. But as far as the star, my knee-jerk reaction after the game yesterday was get rid of it. And then I was like, see, I disagree. He gave me his reasoning. And I thought about it overnight, and I was like, you know, he's actually right. Because when you ask, like, some of the players who were there when we started this run, right? You know, Pirlo, Bonucci, Barzali, Gigi, Chiellini, they all speak about how Conte installed this kind of Juve grit, right? And so when I say that, like, you know, obviously he's pissed off the fans, but we can't deny that he was captain for a long time as a player, and he was a great coach for Juventus. I mean, we don't get to where we are now without him, unfortunately. And I think that's what makes it so hard to watch him at Merda now, is because we're associated with him at the start of this run, you know?
Yeah.
I think getting rid of the star erasing it's like saying that because Bonucci went off to Milan one year, if he gets 500 caps, he should never be in the J Stadium.
Yeah.
It's a part of history.
Like, for me, it's, and I know I agree with you, Antonio, it's going to be unpopular opinion, but I think we need to, like, I think we're separating the Conte, contributions and Conte the man.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think we're all battling, because when I look at it, you can't take away the history that's there and what was achieved, what was done. When we look at him as a man, he's always been that fucking guy. Yeah. And it dates back to interviews while he was a player of Juventus. It didn't change when he was a manager of Juventus. He's always been this guy. And again, I think just the situation, the heated rivalry ever since 2007 here with Juve and Merda, going to that team was always going to heighten that. But he has become unbearable. But for me, and I know it's unpopular opinion, you have to separate, what they did with us as a club and what they do, how they act as an individual. Yeah. That's his burden to wear, basically. Yeah. If he's going to be a classless piece of shit, let that be his burden. We are the classy ones. We keep the star because of the contributions. Let him wear the burden of being the dipshit that is this classless man-child, you know? And this is the thing is we maintain our integrity, and keep it. Maybe we move it over to the pissers, just change the location. But
can you imagine how Conte must feel having the biggest clubs in Italy hate him? Because the Merda fans, I've got friends who are Merda fans, they don't want him there.
And this is the funny thing. The funny thing is that they will fucking be the first to crucify them.
They are. Mm-hmm.
But you still have a lot. Well, not anymore probably, but you had a lot of Juventini that actually still said, I actually do still like Conte, and I would love if one day he comes back. He's pretty much pissed on that for all Juventini now. I would have to say it's safe to say, but the thing is, they'll burn him. They'll put him to the cross and burn him, man. They don't care over there about Conte.
No. Listen, when he left, the way that he left, that should be it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why Agnelli turned him down when they had the chance to get him. They picked Sarri over him, and that's a no-brainer.
He left us in the shit. Let's not forget that. It was, how many weeks was it till the league started? Was it days? Was it maybe?
Yeah. It was like,
and he just backed off and left us in the shit, basically. So
yeah, it's just it's a hard one, right? Because we start looking at the start, and again, it's taken in. Do we separate the performances and now look at people and how they act personally, and then say, oh, we got to remove this guy's star? I say, you can't change history. I don't think we need to get into canceling it either, and just let that stain that's on the star remain with him and let it be his burden. That's just how I feel. But I mean, honestly, if we were going to get into canceling stars, I think it would have to be monumental.
Yeah.
Like a monumental thing, like somebody, did something that it's like we literally cannot be associated with this person. Flipping the bird to guys that you've had bad feelings with for so long. And the funny thing is too, is like flipping the bird, like giving the middle finger in Italy is like, I've never seen it have such a strong reaction than it does in Italy. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
In Canada, sometimes we greet our friends like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" Like, hey, you're driving by your buddy and you say, "Hey, a couple honks. How's it going?" And in Italy, it's like, "Holy Christ, that's it. We're gonna." I don't see. In terms of the disrespect that's been there previously and the history, it's Conte being Conte.
Oh.
The comments after to try and flip the script, he just makes himself look like a clown.
Yeah.
Like Antonio was saying, like, oh, they need to be more have more sportsmanship and whatnot.
Yeah,
Let that sit with him, man. Let that sit with him.
The guy's a loser. In my opinion, he's just a born loser. There's always an excuse. There's always somebody else's fault.
And it was probably your boy Pinsolio that got him all up at halftime too.
I'm officially starting the campaign for Pinsolio to win the goals in the Coppa Italia final.
He
deserves
it. Probably tried to give him a few more for that restaurant.
On my telecast, you could clearly hear Bonucci just yelling at him all game. You could hear his voice and just telling him to shut the fuck up.
But Bonucci's finally found his position for me.
Yeah,
but he can be influential.
He can't be an antagonist on the pitch, but from the bench, prime. That's great. That's great, man. Honestly, solid discussion there. And I mean, I know it's unpopular opinion, and in the heat of the moment right now, everybody wants that star removed, but it is what it is. Let's get back to our boys. Let's get back to Juve. I said at the start of the season, the biggest challenge I felt that would be facing Pirlo is restoring that mentality and that identity that we had, being a tough out in Europe, being a team nobody wanted to face, instilling a bit of fear in the opponents. I want to get your guys' thoughts on, has he finally started to turn that around? Is it more the players just kind of getting comfortable, or is it all together kind of coming together? But the mentality and identity, is that even Pirlo coming through? Like, how do you guys feel about this in terms of this team? I've seen a different team over the past little while, and it started gradually since we lost on January 17th to Merida. I think that was the big one. And honestly, would it have happened if we had won that match? Would it have been so drastic? Because I think the fact that it was them sparked it even more. We've seen the old guard absolutely reinvigorated. They've got that hunger and that drive, which is hard when you've won so much. Okay, but the fire's lit again. They're back. They're back in a big way, the old guard. And the young guys are along for the ride, and they're following suit. And some of them are the ones that are initiating that grinta, that drive. Guys like Chiesa that can enter a match in whatever minute, and he goes full bore. He doesn't even care what the scoreline is. Yeah. The guy's like a machine. I've got one task, and it's to kill these guys. I love it. I love where we are going, and I do see a big shift in this club. How much of it is Pirlo? What do you guys think in terms of that? Do we still have a long way to go in terms of that? I think he's done a hell of a job so far, but how do you guys feel about our identity right now as a club and where Juve sits? Let's start off with Lewis.
I think our mentality it's grown a lot, and it's really changed. I mean, there really is a belief in the project, and I think it's something we've been lacking at least for 3 years, maybe a little longer. But really, since Cardiff, you just have felt this kind of weight and this dark cloud that looms over the Juventus squad. But now, I mean, you see, it starts with Pirlo because you see the way that he is on the touchline. He's excited. He hugs his players after matches. He celebrates goals. That is something that's been missing for quite a while. And then you go down to the players, and I would like to think, the backbone of this team that won 8, 9 Scudetti, right? Getting written off after they lose to Merida at the San Siro or earlier when we dropped some points. They probably took this a little personal. And then, a player like Ronaldo, who has gotten, comments that he's washed from pundits or fans, he's probably looking like, hey, this doesn't make any sense, or and the type of players they're starting to buy, like Danilo's or Demiral's or Chiesa, they have the right attitude. They have the Juventus kind of grit. They bring a lot of energy. And the project is really just kind of flipped top to bottom. It starts with the board. It goes all the way down to the manager. And the way that the players play, the way that they celebrate goals, or they're running from the bench all the way down the touchline, it's just a different feel. And I really think as a collective, they've all come together in a great way.
Yeah. That's the big thing, right? Is you can see them. And I made this comment after I saw Agnelli video walking down, saying stick that finger in your ass to Conte. We fight together now from the top to the bottom. Mm-hmm. Everybody is behind the project. We talked about it during this match. How many times did you see our guys laying out to block shots, make sure nothing got to goal? Demiral, Danilo, De Ligt, like everybody is fighting. Bentancur, Rabiot worked their ass off. Quadrado doing his part. Bernardeschi, Kulishevsky. Everybody is buying in, and everybody's healthy at the right time. Chiellini's been a huge positive key cog coming back, and his performances have been fantastic. And he makes Bonucci serviceable big time, because I thought for a while there Bonucci was looking like, man, we can't even play the guy. Yeah. And he's different when Chiellini, the main man, is there. This is going to bode well, but we all believe we're all a united team now. And this is the difference. This is something we've talked about for a while on this podcast, dating back to almost a season ago. You want to talk about players. You want to talk about the Mercado. You want to talk about bringing in this player, bringing in that player. Individuals obviously can be game changers if they're at that level. But I'm telling you, a solid, cohesive unit will always just make life miserable for your opponents and succeed. If everybody's on the same page, everybody is fighting for one another, this is huge. That's the biggest thing. And that was the one thing I said Pirlo would have a tough time doing, is getting that mentality back, that fight, that never die attitude. But he's doing a fantastic job. Helps having all these guys come back at the right time. Pirlo talked about it too, and he says he's very, very fortunate because these guys are willing to assist even when they're not in the match. Yeah. Directing stuff from the bench, like helping out on the sideline. Do you think they would do that for Sarri? Fuck no. Nobody gave a shit. Mm-hmm. Nobody gave a shit. It's beautiful to actually see. We score goals and you got guys run off the bench. Chiesa jumping on the pile and stuff like that. Yeah. Everybody is united and all in on this project. I said Pirlo's the one thing you could give him 100% when he joined is all the players will back him.
Yeah, of course.
They're all backing him, and that's what we're seeing. Colin coming in here even saying that something he knows about Dybala's body language, even in the stands, the kid seems happy. There's no moodiness, he's congratulating his teammates in the end. We see the posts, how happy he is to start to get back and want to contribute. And that's the thing. Pirlo has everybody wanting to do their part, understanding their roles, and figuring out what they could bring. He did a good job too when others wouldn't have, and we actually criticized him openly about would he have maybe been better off to stick to some units a little bit longer to gain chemistry and whatnot. But honestly, what he's done is actually make those players feel and understand what they mean to the club and their actual roles, and that they can all basically contribute. And he's integrated a lot of the young guys, young guys, even in those earlier Coppa Italia matches, which is huge.
Yeah. If you guys remember in January, Danilo gave a press conference or had an interview where he said that the difference between him at Juventus and other clubs is the way that the board and the coach treat the players, right?
Yeah, I was just
And he was saying that, like, sometimes I just grab lunch with Pavel Nedved and we just sit and talk.
That's exactly where I was going to. You're spot on, Lewis. I was taking in everything you're saying there. Yeah, you're spot on with that.
Yeah, it's that kind of vibe, that little, like, just like, hey, we're here for you. Like, tell me how you feel kind of thing that, makes the players believe it. I mean, Ronaldo got subbed off in the first leg and went to the bench and was cheering people on. He was direct from the bench.
That's where I was wanting to come in. I mean, I go back as far as Betica, Geraldo and Moggi days, where Luciano Moggi actually said before Juventus buy a player, they evaluate the human being. And it's always been the case. The one constant factor in this is Agnelli's, will it be the Agnelli, obviously Gianni Agnelli, the old Agnelli's. They were always had a lot to say in who represents the club. I'll use an example. Mattias de Ligt, 21-year-old, who can speak fluent Italian. The quality's there. I mean, he's an outstanding football player, but he conducts himself well as a human being and represents the club the way it should be. That goes for all the guys. And there will always be that feeling between the board and the players. I think that's just part of the Juventus family. And it goes a long way for a lot. There's no many top teams where you see a president interact so much with the players, and that must be important to have the boss there at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just going back, like, it just wasn't a fit in any way, shape, or form. Not with the players. I don't think he represented the image the team wanted to have as well. He literally looked like a guy that eats potato chips and sits on his couch all day, every day. And all of a sudden now I'm coaching, it didn't fit. So it's the whole thing makes sense now. Luke coming in here at the beginning of the season, we didn't see the team performing as expected, but Pirlo needed time to settle down and implement his philosophy and mentality to the players. I think a part of it too is, like we were saying here, is that he's got the system to a point where the guys all knew their roles. Yeah. And once he figured that out, now the next step was that push, that drive. And again, sometimes it takes that moment in a season that flips the switch. We thought we had it in a couple victories, but I think that defeat was ultimately the one that was needed, to be honest. It's a stupid thing to say, that you needed to lose that one, but I think we needed to in order to take that next jump over that hurdle. We continue on with some comments coming in here from some guests here in RB Comps. Now it seems like the players are dying on that pitch for Pirlo, and Pirlo clearly has belief in the team. I agree. There's a big sense of unity in the team right now. Absolutely. AJ coming in with, I think the Pirlo project wouldn't have been as successful without the presence of many senior experienced players who know him well. This is, again, I agree. But that's part of building your team as well. You want a good balance of experienced guys, but you can't just have a room of older experienced players. You need that balance. You need the young guys, the energy guys, the legs and whatnot. But the fact that we've got guys at that age that could perform at that level is massive. Yeah. The fact that Chiellini can still go at his age when he's fit and be as effective is huge. Buffon, are we serious here? Like, it's crazy, man. That guy has lasted, like, he's going to end up playing with Chiesa's kids, Federico Chiesa's kids, for Christ's sake, if he keeps going. Like, when does it end, It's crazy. But that's a huge, huge luxury not many managers get. So if Pirlo was going to get a crack at a top club like that, he's pretty fortunate, especially when you look in terms of where those other big clubs stand outside of probably Bayern Munich. You know what I mean? He's got it pretty good and pretty fortunate with all those guys. Let's get to something that Antonio kind of talked about a bit earlier. And that was the comparisons between Allegri and Pirlo. And we had many Juventini that were saying Allegri wins matches like this for fun and was basically roasted for it. And now Pirlo does it, and he's a genius. I have a major disagreement with that comment, but I'm going to allow you guys to take it from here. I want everybody that's in the comments share how you're feeling about this too and whatnot. But who wants to kick us off on this? Antonio, you kind of brought it up during the pod as we were in earlier. Maybe you kick us off with your thoughts on people making this comparison.
Yeah, obviously, Alberto, you know that I don't miss any of your shows, even with the live feed. I try to interact with yourself and your guests as much as I can. Lewis actually touched on this yesterday, and he was spot on. I mean, he took the words. There's no point in me saying anything because Lewis touched on it yesterday with Allegri and why we all wanted him out at the end, because he had a fantastic side and had them playing such a negative style of football. So you can't compare Pirlo with Allegri. I mean, there's just no comparison. I mean, I made obviously an example earlier on where I thought sometimes Pirlo with his tactics, and sometimes you seen it yesterday in the first 25 minutes of the Merda game, he looks very much like Guardiola. I mean, he's not scared to try new things. And Al, you were the same. You're now got that enthusiasm back to watch Juve, and I have as well. I mean, it's now that again the highlight of my week watching the guys play. With Allegri for over a year and a half, I just didn't have that. Because he wasn't going anywhere with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lewis, you kind of kicked off, and Antonio's kind of agreeing with your point. And for me, I agree. And the thing is that Allegri was not roasted solely because of the approach. So fans need to realize that there's a lot of context involved. Okay. It's a guy who succeeded and took us to the brink of a treble, a couple of times. And, you always felt like he was there, but then there was, we'll just call it a moment because I don't want to get into the bad history there and whatnot, but there was a moment and things changed. And it was a weird change after one halftime. It was weird, but it all did kind of start there.
Cardiff.
It all kind of started there, and doubts start. Then you start putting them under the microscope a bit, and then you kind of falter. You kind of start getting eliminated out of the next step in progression with this team. You start to kind of go backwards a bit, and then the team starts to fall flat. And you start wondering, well, does he have the same impact that he once had? You're winning leagues. That's great, but the team as a whole, you start to look at the roster. You start to believe maybe you could do better. Maybe you could do better if we start making a change, making a shift. You start looking at football as a whole and other teams and what they're doing and how their approach is. You start wondering if maybe it's time to freshen things up. You start looking at first legs and how we drop the ball there. Yeah, we have great comeback legs, but why are we always in this position? Mm-hmm. Why are we quite often in this position? You start questioning this approach. Pirlo, for me, it's too early to say, he's not making a living off of this. Mm-hmm. He's simply showed us this as a changeup. If we start playing like this every single time, I will change my tune too, because I don't think it's sustainable.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not a sustainable method of play. And this is what many felt with Allegri, is that he was literally trying to sustain this kind of approach that was very, very pragmatic. Pirlo hasn't established this as his main thing. He's offering it as a changeup, which is great. And that's kind of a big difference, is that it's far too soon to say, well, that one guy got ridiculed for it and another's getting praised for it. He's getting praised for it because he's done it when he needed to and showed he's not set on this is my way or the highway. He can change things up when called up. Mm-hmm. That's what I think the difference is in terms of praising one and shitting on another. Look, nobody can take away Allegri's success with the club. He's a coach. He's going to be a coaching legend for us. Like, again, I say he almost took us the whole distance multiple times. We fell short. But as it went on, you started to question whether he was getting the most out of what we had, or could we do more?
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? Lewis, go ahead.
Just what I was going to say is, like, if you watch all the games individually, you put them together, you look at the style, right? The Juventus play a Pirlo high press kind of football. It was only against Roma that they really dipped off. The first leg against Merda, it was a little defensive, but they created a lot of chances. If it wasn't for some bad crosses, they have a ton of chances in that game.
Yeah.
I think, like, the Roma game is a natural reaction to say, okay, guys, we know how to play this way. We have the personnel to play this way. Let's step off because they killed it on the counter, and let's just put two away and suck the game out. That's a natural reaction. And you could say, like, yes, last night was a defensive team. They were looking for kind of a draw or not to concede, but they still created a lot of good chances. Whereas maybe in Allegri team, at least in the last 2 years of his tenure there, it would be like one or two chances in the 1-0 win,
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Raf coming in with everyone knows he's a huge Allegri fan. The difference is Pirlo resorted to this setup only when necessary because of our schedule. Allegri did it every other week. Exactly. That's the difference. That's exactly what I was mentioning. Alex coming in with, let's not kid ourselves. Allegri was on the brink of becoming the greatest Juve manager. Absolutely he was. Nobody's taking that away. It's just I don't think it's fair to say that the ones that saw the time was up were ridiculing him based solely because of playing the defensive style. It was much more than that. And in that last season, and I know AJ, he's coming in here saying, I don't agree with the idea that we were terrible in the last year under Allegri. We were 15 points clear at first place. Look.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll let you take this one, Luce, but I've got some thoughts.
First place, and we were played off the park by Ajax, who got played off the park by a Spurs team without Harry, Heung-min Son, and Christian Eriksen in the second leg. So I tell you, the way that they played it at home against Ajax was the worst I saw Juventus under.
The league from then till now is night and day as well. When you look at our opponents and our adversaries and what they've got. If we played that way this season, we wouldn't even be in the running whatsoever. That's just my opinion. We were playing flat football. A loss of enthusiasm, a loss of ideas, and we got shown up in our house by Ajax in a performance that had no heart and no soul. We looked like dead ass tired robots. That's it. We were going through the motions. And that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like we were a team that was just going through the motions. It was good enough for Serie A. But again, the league at that point was not where it is now in terms of our opponents and how strong they are. Ultimately, when you look at Agnelli as well, forward thinking and how he is and whatnot, and he said it was a super tough decision. He was very, very close with Allegri. And it's not an easy decision to make, but you can't keep him around forever, can you?
See, a lot of the times on this show, I hear a lot of talk about the team progressing, and one of the topics before this topic was an identity. I always feel Allegri's appointment was obviously it was the only appointment we could do because obviously Conte left us in the shit basically, and I feel in his tender there was never any progression. Now I'm going to be careful. I'm going to explain why. You can't take away how successful he was. I agree with Alex. He was fantastic. Winning is the most important thing. However you get over the line, winning trophies is the most important thing. So I won't be a hypocrite because I've said it more than one time. But what I'm trying to say, Pirlo's now looking on as if he's onto something here with giving us an identity, a modern style of football that can now fit into the European style.
Yeah.
Now look at Mourinho. There's no surprise why he's struggling so bad. He's stuck on that mentality. It's much like Allegri was. He wasn't showing any progression, and they did have the players to do that. I'm not saying he was a bad manager. I'm just saying he just wasn't progressing the way that most other European sides are progressing. That's all I meant by that statement.
Yeah, and so AJ coming in here again. So if Juve get eliminated in the quarters, Pirlo should be sacked. No. You're missing context. You're missing the body of work. It's a growing thing. I'm not saying in one season we don't advance past this section of Champions League and Pirlo needs to get sacked. No, you look at Allegri and where he was again in the project. He was there for a while. And again, it's that feeling. It's that belief. Is it time for a change because we've kind of plateaued? Have we plateaued? That's what you're looking at. That's what you're feeling. Many Juventini and obviously the board felt that it was plateaued and it was time to freshen things up and change. That's what it is. It's not just about, okay, Pirlo's first year, we don't make it through, we don't advance through this point, it's over, we need to get rid of him. No, that's not what it is. This is his first season. We need to be realistic in expectations too. And I think that was realistic to expect more out of Allegri. And when it starts to not happen, you start asking questions. Lewis, I know you want to get in here.
Sorry, to piggyback on to what you just said and what Antonio said, when Allegri was in charge of the manager, the goal was to win the treble. Like, there was no debate. Like, that's what Juventus was built for. This is a very Juventus different side. It's a younger team. There's some aging players. They can't spend any money in the market. It's a very transitional team.
Yes.
Give them the same kind of.
And that's what I mean. All things are not equal.
Yeah.
That's why you have to look at the context. You have to look at the surrounding details and everything and where he stands and whatnot. That's what it is ultimately. And the question was,
you can't compare.
Were we plateaued with Allegri?
Yeah.
That's eventually what it comes down to. You know, you talk about eliminations and all this and whatnot. It's that belief. Do you believe we should have done better in Champions League with the team Allegri had at his hands then? If you ask me, we shouldn't have been eliminated by Ajax.
Exactly, and I was just going to say, if I know it's impossible to do this comparison, but if Pirlo had this side against that Ajax side, playing his style of football just now, we wouldn't have been played off. I agree with Lewis. That was one of the worst games I've seen Juventus play.
It was bad. It was soulless.
Horrendous.
I don't remember this one either, but so if we want to talk titles, which again, I agree with Antonio. Allegri's one of Juventus all-time coaches. He's one of the most winningest coaches, if not the winningest coach we ever had, and one of the most dominant stretches we've ever had. But that same year, we played Atalanta in the Coppa Italia with our best 11, and we're spanked 3-0. We couldn't get out of our own half.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay to say Zinedine Zidane won 3 Champions Leagues in a row with Real Madrid, and they're calling for his head because, again, it's gotten stale. That just happened.
Exactly.
When
of course.
You make a change. Not everyone is Sir Alex Ferguson. Like that doesn't exist in football.
Modern day football's evolving, guys. I watch a lot of teams. Obviously, being over in the UK, I've got the privilege to watch a lot of good sides over here as well. On the European front, let's face it, the measuring stick for us is what we do in Europe. Okay, we're never going to be caught in Serie A and the titles we've won, the Coppa Italia. I mean, we're breaking all sorts of records in Italy. Every one of us Juventini want to see us lift that Champions League. We will be measured what we do in the European Cup. And I think what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make, what Pirlo's doing, the style we're playing, it gives us good confidence, in my opinion, going into it, because we've got a recipe of very good, talented footballers who are all buying into what the manager's trying to do. That is a dangerous recipe for anybody who wants to play us over 2 legs.
Yeah. It's like I said. I think the ultimate switch is when, because I don't think it's a question of if. When CR truly breaks out here, look out.
Yeah.
Look out. Guys, holy Christ, we hit some hot ones in this one, and we're getting going. AJ's, we might have to get AJ back on the pod too, because he's getting in there with the Allegri stuff. But guys, we've got the next one up continuing on this crucial February, Napoli. You don't need to do much in previewing this one, what with the whole saga that happened earlier on, and the ASL, basically the travel ban and all this. So we have a game in hand that's going to be another one against these guys. We beat them in the Super Coppa. Again, will it be easy? No. We're going to go into the Maradona there, and I expect a battle. I ultimately think we pull this through, and we get the victory, hard fought. I think we're just we're on a huge momentum wave right now that we just got to keep riding. I think the fact that rest guys in this one is going to be big, and I see us winning this one and continuing on, and hopefully, there's a Lazio Merda match that hopefully we can get a result that would favor our standings. And Spezia and AC Milan, well, we might not get help there, but that's okay. Ultimately, it's going to come down to us. We got a match in hand. We have to play Milan later on again. We've got 2. This is the first of 2 against Napoli. And we have to redeem ourselves against Merda, which I believe we will in the second leg to that one. But going into this weekend's fixture, how you guys feeling? RB comp, say, and using my line here as I would say, time to silence those chihuahuas once again. And Napoli's just like that annoying cousin or something that you see once in a while and thinks that they're on par with you, whatever, and you kind of give them the beats and then forget about them until the next family reunion or dinner or something. It's like, get out of here. But how do you guys feel going into the weekend against Napoli? Possibility that maybe you see Dybala? I don't know. We'll see. He's getting close there. So how do you guys feel?
It's been a really great period. We've taken 10 wins out of 12 with only a draw and 1 loss in that time. So, I'm enthusiastic. We got Napoli. It's always fun. The one thing about the stretch, as crazy as it's been with all the games, is that you can't miss any of them because they're against great sides. So, I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping to see, a return of the best 11 and see some progress from what we've seen before and continuing to scare the hell out of everyone in the title run. It's been pretty great.
Absolutely. Antonio?
You used a good word there, Alberto, momentum. Obviously, with that, the only good thing, you have the congested fixture list just now, playing every 2 or 3 days. It means that momentum's not dropping off. You're not having to wait a week. There's no international breaks. I think the way we're panning out just now, we've got a great rhythm going. I don't want to jinx it, but we look as if we can't be beat. So we're always going to score points. It's what the other ones do, because I've always said Juve are the worst enemy. They shouldn't fear anyone with that squad. To say, but I think we'll get into the Napoli game. There's no fans obviously in the San Paolo, which helps. It is the San Paolo, isn't it? It's away from home, so that'll help. Gattuso's obviously on a shaky nail with De Laurentiis, but let's face it, you could win the Champions League and be in a shaky nail with that guy. As I say, so I think everything's there. Koulibaly's out. I think Manolas might be struggling as well. So that's 2 of their centre halves out. So I can see us winning, or I can certainly see us not getting beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vishwajit with a great point. Bro, don't preview the match now. We don't know. They might cancel it. You never know with Aurelio there. And that's
COVID. So
that's a good point. Perfect. Everybody, we're going to wrap up here, but honestly, it's awesome and refreshing to have this feeling around the club now. We talk about the clean sheets now consecutively, the rhythm we are in defensively. Still maintaining the dangerous threat up top, of course, with CR. Still working on putting it all together and getting that balance there, but it's been awesome. Merda, fun fact, hasn't scored in Turin since 2015 or 16 season. Fantastic.
Another-
Lukaku hasn't scored against Juventus. This stud striker hasn't scored against Juventus either with Man U or Merda, and that's your key guy.
And
Fuck you guys. Antonio, get in here.
another fun fact: they've won fuck all in 10 years.
Yes. And
That's my case.
that is a wrap. Suck it, Merda. And one more time for all my Juventini out there, let's enjoy this little bad boy. What a dance, Antonio. What a dance, Conte. I love it, boys. Lewis and Antonio, it's been awesome. What a great match to recap, and honestly, great moment beating those chumps, keeping the streak for them going where they don't get nothing because they don't fucking deserve it. Thanks, everybody that joined live. Been awesome. The comments, the questions, everything was fantastic. I appreciate it all. Make sure you join or click like on the video and everything. It means a lot. Those of you that are listening to the audio, keep in mind this podcast is open to any and all Juventini. So if you want to be a guest for the podcast, or even if you want to join a pre-match live where we preview matches on game day, reach out. Thanks everybody for the support. Enjoy this beautiful day where it is post beating Merda over the two legs and going into the Coppa Italia final. Ciao everybody. And as always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.